This is the second of 3 episodes through a stack of folders I just came across in the Strange As It Seems archives. We did pool and polo last week. We're going to do roller skating this week, and then we're going to finish up with rope skipping, soccer, and table tennis. I think they were in alphabetical order in the old file cabinets before I had to toss those and move all these folders into books as I was moving back and forth across the country and carrying these archives with me, which I've had since I was a kid. Welcome back. This is Jeff Hix, curator of the Strange As It Seems archives and grandnephew of John Hix, who created Strange As It Seems back in the late 1920s. This has been a labor of love for me as it was for my family. I come from a long line of oddity hunters. John Hix, as I said, really started this. He was a 20-year-old nationally syndicated artist in 1929. He took on Ripley. It was Ripley's Believe It or Not and a few other oddity comic strips at the time, and he really kind of vaulted to become the main competitor. Most towns or cities at the time had 2 newspapers. Right, you would have like in Dallas, the Dallas Times-Herald and the Dallas Morning News, or those. And so one paper would carry Ripley's Believe It or Not, the other paper would carry Strange As It Seems, and they were friendly competitors. They actually knew each other, had met a few times, but that has always been just this treasure trove of mine. I love carrying these around. The smell is one thing I never talk about, but every time I open up one of these folders, it reminds me of being a kid and playing, in this room and opening up the file cabinets and the boxes and, just growing up with all this stuff. So happy to share it with you. Thanks for joining me on this journey. It's going to be a few years where we go through really the foldered archives. So today's episode is going to be on roller skating. And this is a great example of kind of how Strange As It Seems differentiated itself from Ripley's Believe It or Not, because we're going to start off with one of the really old ones. This is 1930, so probably about a year, maybe a year or two after John Hix had started. And this is on Everett McGowan, who roller skated continuously for 146 hours. How about that? But what I love about this is at the bottom of these old comic strips, you can read, if you don't believe any of this, write to the author for proof. Send stamped return envelope. And that's really what these archives are. I don't think Ripley has anything like it, because if you wrote into Robert Ripley at the time and said, hey, I don't believe that, you'd get a postcard back that said, believe it or not. So he never really felt like he had to validate his facts, where John Hix stored everything. And here's a great example. This is a 1930 article, and oftentimes it was letters, affidavits, photographs, but you could write him and he would send you back a letter or point you to where the proof was for every fact. Pretty cool. And here's the Springfield Daily Republican from Springfield, Massachusetts, from Thursday, August 28th. And I didn't see the year, but 1930. Everett McGowan, crazy. I guess he got a check for $1,000 for the record of 146 hours continuously roller skating. And then I found this one a little bit later in the folder, but from 1935. And apparently, it's the same fact. Without stopping, he had roller skated for 146 hours. A really cool drawing there, which I guess formed the basis of the artwork as well. And a beautiful handwritten letter from Sid Isaacs here. I love this. A couple of hotels on it. Seeing your cartoon of a skater completing 100 hours. Please find clippings showing that Everett McGowan, who skates for the Springfield Indians and who is the property of the New York Rangers, isn't that interesting, skated on rollers for 146 hours and 2 minutes, the world's endurance record. Will you please give Mr. McGowan credit for this, as he is a most modest chap and a regular fellow. He lost 14 pounds during this feat. And another amazing roller skater here. This goes back to 1931, just a year later. Jack Hyland. I guess he roller skated from Wilson, North Carolina, all the way to Detroit. He went 1,900 miles in 34 days. What might be called a swell skate. Jack Hyland arriving in Detroit to attend the American Legion Convention after having skated the 1,900 miles from his home in Wilson, North Carolina in 34 days. He wore out 3 pairs of roller skates on the trip. And here was another endurance guy, Asa Hall from Danville, Illinois. Check this out. He roller skated 20,000 miles in 5 years, and this was published in 1938. He was 41 years old, veteran of the World War. I've said that several times. All of these comic strips in the 1930s talked about the World War before we even knew there was going to be a second, and God forbid a third, right? But 20,000 miles in the last 5 years. But then check this out. We just talked about Jack Hyland. Here he comes back again. So Asa Hall had roller skated 20,000 miles in 5 years. And then we're back here. Looks like it's hard to read these. 1939, Jack Hyland, Hollywood, roller skated 201,000 miles in 10 years. He visited 46 states and 32 foreign countries. So that 1931, he was basically just getting started. Great story here. World skater and bride reached Pasadena from Texas. And this is Pasadena, California, not Pasadena, Texas, right? Skate from Waco, Texas together. Jack Hyland and his bride, greeted by Raleigh Berkheimer, the manager of the rink they visited. A mere honeymoon jaunt, according to Jack Hyland and his blonde wife, Pauline, who arrived here on all 16 wheels today. They met at a skating rink in Corpus Christi, Texas, where Hyland paused for relaxation after a skating trip around the world. And they were married June 3rd at Waco, and they skated from Corpus Christi to Waco before starting the trip to Southern California. Crazy. Amazing endurance skater here, Jack Hyland, now in Hollywood, California. And some more endurance guys here. We've got Ted Wright. This is from 1938 as well. He roller skated from Los Angeles to San Francisco, 450 miles. He did it in just 73 hours. That's quite a feat. Kind of amazing guy there. We've got Gordon and Norris Blodgett. This is also 1939. They roller skated from Los Angeles to New York. It required 7 weeks, 3 days, 4 hours, and 2 minutes. Brothers. 2 LA brothers roller skate to New York. I guess they set the record. Left Hollywood on roller skates on July 17th in quest of exercise, I would say so, and maybe a movie contract. Coasted into a telegraph office in the financial district today. We've done it. Of course, the pair, Gordon Blodgett, 21, and Norris, 18-year-old high school senior. Done what? Demanded the clerk in charge of the office. Stamp our papers quick, Gordon said. We've set a new transcontinental roller skating record. Crazy. They wore out 192 wheels, Norris proudly recalled, and we didn't accept a single hitch. And here's the 60-year-old Robert Miller. I love this guy. He skates down the Oakland, California hills after midnight. I can't find where that article was, but yeah, he would always roller skate at night because that's when the cars, the traffic was down. But how about this? He used a broomstick as a brake. Crazy, right between the legs there. Robert Miller, the 60-year-old speed demon roller skater. And speaking of speed demons, check out Henry Becker. Roller skated 100 yards in 10 seconds. The amazing thing is this is a 1937 comic strip, and they're actually referencing this feat all the way back to 1910. Crazy. Henry Becker, 100 yards in 10 seconds in Chicago, all the way back to 1910. 1.5, are you kidding me? Look at this. How about this cute little kid? Donald Taylor. He could roller skate at the age of 1.5 years old. Dear sir, I'm enclosing a picture of my son Donald, as you asked for, on his skates. He's been skating since he was 1.5 years old. He's now 2 years and 1 month. But here is the picture taken in our yard. This is from Mrs. Ida Taylor, the proud mother. Look at that cute little kid there. 1.5 years old, roller skating. Speaking of mothers and sons, this one cracks me up here. There's a professional roller derby team. And some great photographs in here, but it's Ma Bogash. She's the mother, and I guess they were a famous mother and son roller derby team. She's the oldest woman in professional sports competition, and she attained her unusual status on a dare. Son, Billy Bogash, the world's fastest human on roller skates, skims over the mile course on the steeply banked roller derby track in 2 minutes, 39.4 seconds. Crazy. He tried for a position on the roller derby teams and was rejected. Pa Bogash, annoyed by Ma's chiding of her son, challenged Ma to try for a position on the team. She did and was accepted. And then her arguments with the roller derby management won the second chance for Billy, and she made him the world's champion. What a crazy duo here, mother and son. But check out the photographs are what crack me up. There she is, spanking her son on the rear end. How about this one? She's got him in the penalty box, an old-time photo of Ma Bogash. And looks like a couple of Hollywood personalities. Wouldn't otherwise know who these guys are, but famous faces. Francis Lederer and Margot. Enthusiastic roller derby fans, apparently, greet Billy and Ma Bogash, top skaters of the California team, at the Polar Palace, where they're currently appearing. But a couple of Hollywood personalities back in the day, checking out Ma and Billy Bogash, mother and son combo on the roller derby team. And here's a little funny flip. Speaking of flip, but in the ice skating episodes that we did in those folders, I found some roller skaters. So a couple of roller skaters appeared in the ice skating episode I did. But in that ice skating episode, I featured the amazing Adele Inga or Inge. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. But here she is again in the roller skating folder, and she's so amazing that I'm going to have to feature her again. 16-year-old skating marvel. She achieved the sensational backward somersault without hands, and apparently, I don't know if this was ever fully corroborated. I know that Jeff Hix in here, I think there was a letter in here, and he was like, needs to be corroborated. Got to get the dope on her. But yeah, she was the first person. There's a really cool, she had her own stationery or letterhead here. The Adele Inga from Clayton, Missouri, prodigy on skates. But yeah, the only skater who could do a back somersault on ice. Check carefully. I doubt it. JH, isn't that great, Jeff Hix? But here's the complete, photographic proof of her doing it. And I think at the time she was the only one. Maybe in the, we can take you through this kind of step 1 through 7. But pretty amazing. And yeah, her father had built her a skating rink really in the basement of their home. She was self-taught. She could do all kinds of things. A round-off turn to 6 or 7 fast back flips, a change fish to a head spin to toes, chest roll, the Adele Inga spin, I guess, the spin holding 1 foot higher than her head, and a combination handspring, body twist in the air, somersault in the air. The greatest at 15 years old. She was recognized as the greatest all-round exhibition figure skater in the world by experts and promoters from coast to coast. They also say she is the greatest skater ever to glide and spin across the ice, Adele Inga. Well, that wraps up this episode on roller skating and one more on ice skating. For this, thank you so much for joining. Please hit the bell to subscribe, hit the button to like, and by all means, leave a comment if you have an amazing story about roller skating or even ice skating. And check out the other two. I have two other episodes on ice skating. That was quite a popular feature here for Strange As It Seems. And I'll leave you, as I always do, with a quote from Jeff Hix in his first book, 1928, published when he was just launching the comic strip. And he says, "This author launches the book of the curious in nature and humankind on the vast sea of public opinion with the hope that it will fulfill its mission to entertain and acquaint its readers with some of the marvels of the world in which we live."